Welcome. I'm Mara Bishop, and for the last couple of decades, I have had the pleasure of working with people to develop sustainable and meaningful daily practices. Sometimes those focus on shamanism and shamanic journeying, sometimes on meditation, sometimes on connecting to the beautiful nature that's all around us and within us, and frequently on developing healthy energetic boundaries, which is the focus of our class today, and preventing burnout. Anything that you might want to know about me and about the books and the classes and the other resources that I have available, you can find at wholespirit.com, including the Shining Bright Without Burning Out and Energy Ecosystem courses, from which a lot of the material that I'm talking about today is sourced. So a few practicalities, a little bit of the technical piece for today. We are recording this session, so you can come back to it later. You can share it with a friend, but don't worry, we are not recording you. We don't have access to your camera or to your audio, so you can just relax. But we are interested in hearing your questions, hearing your comments. So if you have anything that you want to ask me, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm not going to look at it in the beginning, but at the end, I will take a look at what your questions are and definitely try and address them. And if we don't get to it today, then I am very happy to follow up with you after, and you can just shoot me an email. So, energetic boundaries. This work about boundaries is from, this will be this way, from my heart. It comes from my own experiences of being empathic and being energetically porous, and frankly having not such great boundaries, right? And over time, I developed tools that help keep me from being overwhelmed in the world, but that don't blunt the benefits of my natural sensitivity. I know a lot of you are sensitive people, or you wouldn't be here. And these tools, these things that I kind of learned over time, allow me to be in my own space when I choose. And, we live in a world that is interconnected physically, technologically, environmentally. We are experiencing that interconnection in extraordinary and accelerating ways. And I look to nature as a source of personal healing and joy, as I'm sure that many of you do as well. And nature can also be a model for us for how we can withstand the intensity of the time that we live in, and also for how we can function best within the interconnected ecosystems that we live in, all the different kinds of ecosystems that we live in. So as much as possible, I'm going to draw from everything that's available to us, right, in this really complex time that we live in. The wisdom of shamanism and indigenous practices, research, science, psychology. We're so fortunate to be living in this particular time. And the complexity of when we live makes having flexible and adaptable boundaries really, really important. A quick story as an illustration. I was on the phone with my mother a few days ago, and she was telling me about a pain that she was having. Shortly thereafter, I had the same pain. Right? Wasn't awful, wasn't in misery, but I knew immediately what had happened. Right? It was very precise. I didn't have the pain. She described the pain to me. I kind of went about my business for a while. A little while later, I had the pain. Same place. This is a pretty benign example of empathic absorption, right? I took on pain that wasn't mine. I took on somebody else's experience. And fortunately for me, I used some of my tools, right? And the pain went away. And I love my mom. I would do whatever I can to help her, to ease her suffering. But my having that pain didn't help her feel better. So sometimes the tools that we work with with this boundary work and this burnout prevention work, which goes beyond just burnout prevention. It's how do we live in a way that feels healthier and fuller, within ourselves and within our relationships. Some of the tools are proactive, right? They're going to keep us from picking up what isn't ours to begin with. And sometimes you have to do some cleanup after the fact, right? In that instance, it was a cleanup that I needed to do. But they can make a huge difference in how we experience our connection to other people and how we feel physically and emotionally. And of course, we all have physical and emotional pain sometime. That's just part of being human. But maybe this kind of thing that I just described, this little example of what happened after I talked to my mom, maybe this kind of thing happens to you too. I talk to people who are healthcare workers, and they have picked up sensations and symptoms of their clients and their patients. Maybe it happens to you in other ways. You are maybe experiencing this in more subtle or more hard to tease out ways. Maybe you're taking care of your kids, or you're interacting with a lot of different people at work, or you're a therapist or some other kind of caregiver. And all those interactions start to weigh on you, and you feel a little different than when you're by yourself. Or maybe cumulatively, you feel different than you did in some earlier stage in your life. And many of us have a goal of showing up for other people, right? Taking care of other people. So many of us are trying to be of service, right? And to do that, we have to be able to manage ourselves, right? It's that classic thing of you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you help other people. We know this. We know this intellectually. And if you are breathing and aware of the world right now at all, you know that there's a lot of suffering. So whether you are actively trying to alleviate that suffering, or maybe you are just trying to get through your day, if you have a certain level of sensitivity, you may be taking on things that aren't your own, right? Maybe in your body, the way I did, maybe as an emotion. You go out to lunch with a friend, your friend is sad. You weren't particularly sad when you went, you come home and you're sad too, right? Sometimes we are aware of it in a clear cause and effect kind of way. Maybe we're not, right? But more and more of us are feeling this sense of overwhelm and exhaustion. Many of us are quitting our jobs, right? Or giving up in other ways. And burnout rates are just shooting up. So if we're able to create healthier relationships with our own energetic bodies, the energy ecosystem that we live in, right? Including the perimeter of that body, right? The boundaries of that body, which are changeable and adaptable with practice, then we can become more resilient to the stressors of what's around us, right? The pain of others, the intensity of the collective. And also within us too, because this is not all about other people's stuff, right? We are responsible for our own energy and for making sure that we don't infringe on others negatively. right? So when we can really focus on our own bodies, become more attuned, um, and work on that adaptability, we can stay present to the pain of others, to the experience of others, without taking it into our bodies directly. And nature can help us with that, right? Of course, nature can help us with everything. Nature is everything. We are nature. So, before we get too far along, right, on how to really specifically work with our energetic boundaries and prevent burnout, let's take a pause. I think that all good work, whether it's ceremonial work or a meeting, your day, whatever it is, has a beginning and a middle and an end. And in our busyness and the intensity, I know that word keeps coming up, the intensity of our lives, um, we can have a tendency to rush from one thing to the next and without having really a good transition time between things. So maybe you are already practicing some form of meditation or mindfulness. Maybe you're starting out on a new path of personal awareness or some other adventure, right? And this is new for you, but wherever you are, folding in some kind of deliberate openings and closings into your day, into whatever you do, can be a really good support for creating good energetic boundaries. Okay, so let's do a brief meditation now to kind of open up our work. So as you're comfortable, you could close your eyes, you could have a soft gaze. Take a nice deep breath. And just feel your breath moving out in a nice, gentle rhythm. And feel where your body connects to wherever you're sitting or lying. Feel where you are on the planet. Sense the ground beneath you, supporting you. And sense the sky above you, its expansiveness. And feel yourself in your own precious body held between the earth and the sky. And feel your skin as it's touched by the air around you or by your clothes. And no matter how much we appear to be alone, we are living in shared space where you and I live over time. Other beings have lived and are living here too. Humans, animals, plants, elements. So let's acknowledge that we're living in places rich with history and with spirit. Let's acknowledge those who came before us and those who are here now and those who will come in the future. Simply, I see you, you see me. We are here together, held between earth and sky. And also know that wherever you are sovereign within your body. You are worthy and you have choices. So feel your body in your unique place on the planet and just be here right now. Thank you for being here right now. And when you're ready, take a nice breath and you can open your eyes if you want to. You can keep your eyes closed if you want to. So as you start a day or move from one place to another, even just a few seconds um, of to reset can really make a big difference. And part of the energy ecosystem and the Shining Bright Without Burning Out courses focuses on how we change the state of our energetic boundaries depending on the situations we face. And that resetting moment can be really helpful in determining how we want to face the world. Many of us who spend a lot of our focus on the spirit side of the body, mind, spirit triangle. And I mean focus because of course, we're all on all three sides of that triangle simultaneously. But many of us who really think about and want to embody that spirit side, many people have picked up the idea that to be really spiritual, we need to be wide open all the time. And we have different things that we associate that with that idea. Maybe it's never saying no, maybe it's always being tolerant, always being calm, always somehow always being open, energetically open. Part of this kind of big soup of all that is. And there's a paradox to this, right? It's kind of one and all one, right? We are all connected. We are here to be in relationship. But we are also allowed to be discrete individuals. We're allowed to be sovereign beings in our own individual energy sometimes. And when we allow ourselves the space, the permission to have good boundaries, and good is not necessarily a value judgment there, but specific boundaries, right? Practically, emotionally, and spiritually, we can usually create better, closer, healthier relationships with those around us, right? Whether it's individuals or groups. It's the overload, right? The lack of control from being always wide open, energetically wide open, that contributes to people burning out, right? And of course, there are a lot of other factors, a lot of other really practical factors, overwork and poor support systems, and um, lots of other things that are outside of our scope today. We're talking about the energetic piece. So if you can hold on to that paradox, that yes, we are all one. We're all interconnected. But then if we claim our right to be just one, sometimes we can be more healthy and more joyful within the all one, within that web of connection with all other beings, the one and the all. One of the differences, I think, in my approach to creating healthy energetic boundaries from, compared to some other people, is that I focus on how we create radiance and this idea of sovereignty, that word keeps coming up a lot, from the inside, and how that is a greater protective factor than doing a lot of energetic shielding or having to be in a defensive posture towards the world and the people around us. And it doesn't mean that we don't want to be protective sometimes, right? But the stronger that we are from the inside out, the more resilient we can be. And at your core, I'll just say, at your spirit level, you're perfect. You don't need me, you don't need anyone else, but we can help each other, right? When I got better at understanding and managing my energetic boundaries, my life got better. So I'm sharing that with you. But you have what you need inside, right? This can come from the inside out. So let's talk for a minute about the maybe the difference between compassion and empathy. Is there a difference, right? Do we want to have empathy or compassion? Is empathy always a good thing? We're used to thinking of empathy as being 100% good quality. And compassion and empathy are different. Healthy compassion allows us to be present, to relate with other people who are going through positive or negative experiences. And we have rapport, right? If somebody needs us, we're motivated to help them, right? So if somebody's having trouble, being compassionate allows us to be a witness for them and then to also be motivated to help in some way. Empathy has a different quality. Empathy has uh, often has the quality of absorbing or taking on. All right, so not only are we intellectually connected with a person or having some kind of sympathy, not pitying, hopefully, but a resonance with them, we're actually feeling what's happening for them because we're experiencing it in our bodies. Right, so we're empathically absorbing, right? And that empathic absorption, which also, there's another phrase for it, empathic distress, that spreads the pain around, right? And it actually inhibits our ability to help. Research shows that people who feel compassion help more often than people who feel this kind of empathic absorption or empathic distress. So healthy compassion differs from absorbing empathy. So if we want to be of service to others, if our goal is not only just kind of surviving the world, but also really tending to ourselves and tending to other people, um, our goal is to be compassionate, but not necessarily empathic. And to be really clear, our goal with this work is not to shut down our sensing, right? People who are empathic generally have a lot of receptors. And I use that term loosely, meaning that you can pick up a lot from your environment, right? You've got, it's like you've got antennae, you've got all these different ways of sensing and perceiving from other people, from the environment, and there's kind of a range of ways that people do this. And it can be a great asset. So we're not trying to squash the ability, we're not trying to blunt our sensitivities or our different ways that we perceive, but we're trying to modulate it so that it's useful. And if you have all the radio stations blaring at you at the same time, you can't hear any of them. If you have 10 people shouting at you, you can't hear any of the conversations. It's unintelligible. So this is about being able to tune in to what you want to tune into at a volume level that you can take in, right? And being able to turn the volume down on other things when it's time to turn the volume down. Right? So how do we change from empathic absorption to healthy compassion? How do we make that shift? We've got a whole toolkit. We've got a whole toolkit to do it. And I'll usually try and give tools that support each side of that body, mind, spirit triangle and work together. And one of the first steps, and we're going to do this as a meditation in a bit, is to start to have a felt sense of the energetic body and practice adjusting it a bit, adjusting the state of permeability or porousness. So the word burnout is everywhere these days, and we kind of have a sense of what that means generally. But I just want to clarify what the definition is as we're talking about it here. So we think about how so many people are facing really challenging situations and prolonged periods without enough support, maybe without enough self-care tools, without enough coping tools, and generally that kind of has the possibility to lead to burnout. The World Health Organization has a very specific definition of burnout as a syndrome that results from chronic workplace stress with three dimensions. One relates to feeling exhausted or depleted, one to having this kind of distance or sense of negativity or cynicism towards your job, and another is a sense of being ineffective, feeling like you're not doing a good job, you're not accomplishing what you want. I want to have a broader definition than that because I think that burnout can happen in a lot of different ways. It's not just it doesn't have to be in a professional setting, right? Somebody who's a caregiver or a parent or juggling a lot of different roles or ways that they have to show up for people can have burnout. You don't have to, not something you have to get paid for necessarily in the workplace. And that kind of despair and hopelessness that's part of burnout, that cynicism that creeps in for people who, used to have energy and optimism, right? So burnout can apply to any one of us. And I think, and people who are empathic and energetically porous are particularly vulnerable. For some people, the climate, the energetic climate that we're in doesn't matter all that much. But for empathic people, it matters a lot, right? When we soak up what's around us, when we're porous, when we feel what others are feeling individually and collectively, it's a sensitivity that can become a strength, right? When you perceive a lot, any perceptions can potentially become a strength. But until we understand it, till we learn how to work with it, until we're able to modulate it, it can be a really painful liability, right? When we can modulate it, it's one of the ways that we can prevent the effects of burnout, right? There are a lot of other things that need to happen as well, but the energy tools can be part of that set of coping and self-care tools. Burnout in its different forms is really a snapback to too much, right? To overload, to too much input. So people who are not empathic can be burned out, right? Different kinds of input. But when you're energetically really sensitive, working on the energetic level can be a good protective factor for staving off burnout and increasing resilience. So I talk about this idea of the energy ecosystem, right? I've got courses and about working with your energy ecosystem. It's part of the foundation of the Shining Bright Without Burning Out audio course. Our energetic bodies and the different energetic systems that we move in are our energetic ecosystems, right? We have our own personal energy ecosystem, right? It's the spirit that infuses our physical selves. And then we have these more complex systems that we are a part of and that are made up of other people, other beings, other places, where we go to work, our families. Right, so we're part of the physical environment, physical world, but there's the spirit that underlies it, and they work together. And one of the tenets of shamanism is that everything is alive, right? Everything has spirit. So the physical ecosystem and the energetic ecosystems they're not two separate things, right? They're interrelated, they're overlapping. One affects the other. And we know that many um, systems of healing, particularly indigenous ways of seeing health, Eastern ways of seeing health, are going to look to the energetic body as a source of information about the physical bodies. Um, so it's it's this spiritual or energetic level that is really important in to look at and think about how this reflects what makes us uniquely us, right? And when we talk about having healthy energetic boundaries, we've got to add this side to having healthy physical boundaries and having healthy emotional boundaries to make a complete picture. So let's do that longer meditation. Okay, let's do this um, practice in sensing our energy body and working to do some adjusting of our energetic boundaries, right? This is one of those very beginning, very foundational meditations that we do. It's kind of one of the first tools that then we build on. And um, you may feel this, right? You may have a visual of it, you may feel it kinesthetically, you may feel it with different senses. That's great. You may not right away. And that's also great, right? And in that case, I would really highly encourage you to use your imagination. Follow along with what I'm going to be describing to you and envision it for yourself if it doesn't feel like it's coming just naturally to you with your senses. There's tons of evidence that shows how much our imagination and our powers of visualization can affect our bodies and physical reality. So we've got a limited amount of time together today, so I'm not going to do my usual demonstration to kind of illustrate my point. So just trust me, and just let me walk you through this and use your imagination if it doesn't come up right away for you. The more you do this, particularly when you layer it on with some of the other tools, this can become like second nature. Okay. So why don't you shift in your chair, wherever you're sitting, wherever you are, and get comfortable again, and close your eyes or have a soft gaze, however you feel comfortable and relaxing, so that you can focus inward. And feel your breath moving in and out in a nice, gentle rhythm. And again, notice where your body is connecting to wherever you are sitting or lying. And on each exhale, try and let your muscles relax a little more each time until you feel settled into a nice, comfortable position. And now experience a light inside your body. Again, it's okay if you use your imagination. You may feel this in your heart, you may feel it in your belly or in your crown, somewhere else, wherever you sense it. Feel it bright and glowing. And with each breath, fuel it, envision it getting brighter and expanding. And with each breath, this beautiful light, this beautiful glow is filling you more completely, flowing through your whole body. And with each breath, experience your light lighting you up from the inside, radiating from the inside, moving through your legs to your toes, down your arms to your fingers, up through your neck and your face, and all the way to the top of your head. And as the light expands within you, it also begins to gently surround you. And the glow you experience inside your body starts to radiate outside your skin. So that your inner light is shining bright all around you, like a luminous cocoon. And envision this cocoon of light surrounding you, infusing you. Envision it staying pretty close to your physical body, maybe within 6 inches or so outside your body. And this is a strong light. It's a dense light. As impermeable as light can be, this is a strong light wrapped around you, keeping you sheltered and secure. And now allow this light to expand a few feet around your body in all directions. And let it start to feel less dense. Let the light get lighter, more permeable. With each breath, let it just feel more expansive and porous. And see what that feels like for a little bit. And now pull it back in. Pull that light closer back into your body. Back again about 6 inches or so. Whatever feels right to you, back so that it has that cocoony feeling again. Radiating from within. And this is your light, always with you, radiant from the inside. And the more you pay attention to it, the stronger it will grow, and the easier it will be for you to be able to adjust it, the quality, the expansiveness, as you choose. Okay, take a few more deep breaths as you enjoy the beautiful light that's radiant within you and prepare to come back. Feel yourself again held. Feel whatever you're sitting or lying on. Maybe stretch a little bit, move your fingers or your toes. And take another breath. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And doing this kind of work, this kind of visualization and meditation in our own private, safe feeling spaces, our home spaces. Oh, hello, Luna. And practicing adjusting the porousness, right, of our boundaries makes it easier for us to be able to do it when we're outside of our comfort zone, right? And to be able to still stay relaxed and to be at ease, even when we maybe feel more challenged, right? When situations are more challenging, when we've practiced it, we're comfortable doing it more quickly. One of my favorite things about doing things over Zoom is our animal friends coming to visit. So this is Luna. So another one of the foundations of the energy ecosystem and shining bright work to prevent burnout is learning about our energy personality archetypes. And these are based primarily on animals, good timing, Luna, and of beings of nature. So we're just going to touch on it here. So thinking about our patterns as humans in relationship to some of the patterns in the animal realm. And these archetypes are really fun to work with. I enjoy it. And it's, I've got a nice kind of large group of individual ones that have kind of light and shadow qualities, right? As most things do. And then also some pairings, since we're so often in relationship dynamics that work together. So just to give you an example, one of them is the chameleon, right? We're all familiar with the chameleon. One of their, obviously one of their most prominent qualities is that idea of their ability to change with their environment, right? And what a wonderful survival skill that is for them, right? And it works great for people who have the chameleon archetype as well, to a point, right? The light side of this archetype is that you're able to adapt to different situations quickly, Um, you can blend into social groups. You can read the culture of a new workplace, right? And so that skill can be really helpful. And what I found with this particular archetype is that it's often um, part of um, a combination for people because we're not only just one archetype, right? We kind of draw, we have multiple different qualities, right? So we each of us have multiple archetypes, but people who have this archetype, not all, but often have grown up in situations where their home life was unpredictable, right? So it could have been maybe a parent who maybe had substance abuse issues or came home angry, right? And the kids needed to be very attuned to what the environment was going to be, right? Maybe being able to be invisible and blend into the background really helped them survive. The shadow side of this archetype is that you kind of lose yourself, right? You can change and change and change, and then you kind of forget a little bit about who you are. What's your personality? What's your preference? Okay, so once we can identify, which combination of archetypes you relate to, then we can work with it. Then we can keep the skill and shed some light on the shadow, right? And minimize the potentially negative effect of the shadow side of the archetype for yourself and in your relationships. Um, when we're engaging the natural world around us, we can create these kind of reciprocal and intentional relationships that we want to be in, right? In all the different parts of our lives. Many indigenous cultures, the view is that nature's part of ourselves, right? And to think of the animals and the plants and the land as family members. And many of us leading busy modern urban lives, we are filled with these intense technological connections, right? And we've spent less time fostering our connection to the nature that's around us and the nature that's within us. And this is also a contributing factor to burnout, right? So another way that I'm working deliberately with nature, just being out in nature is wonderful, right? If there's one thing that you could do right now, just go outside, just be in it, right? Um, but the innatured process, this is something else that working with to work directly with nature. The energetic archetypes are archetypal, right? Innatured is a process to help us consciously engage the environment for relationship, for support, for restoration. And there's a lot of research that shows how um, just being in nature has tremendous physical and emotional benefit, right? And the nature process kind of takes this a step further by having a deliberate series of steps that we go through, which can also support our energetic boundaries. It also can help us with the restoration that prevents burnout. And people are coming seeking things, and some amazing things are happening. So I want to leave time for some questions if people have questions. So let's close for now. Um, so let's just take a moment to do a closing, and I want to have big thanks to the Fine Center, and thanks for both our kind of our oneness and our individuality and our all oneness, and for you for being here. So anybody that needs to, I'm going to just do a brief closing meditation, and then if you want to stay for to answer some questions, that would be great. Okay, so just real quick again, if you want to close your eyes, you can. And let's just feel ourselves placed back in that earth and sky sandwich, that cozy little sandwich. And as we kind of get ready to move back into our day, know that we are supported. We are part of this giant, beautiful, big web of life. We're not alone. But we're also allowed to find that private little cozy cocoon when we want to. So thank you for the support that we have, both seen and unseen, known and unknown. And these are some of the first steps towards our self-care practices of healthy boundaries. If you are interested in going further, please feel free to get in touch with me through wholespirit.com. And thank you so much for joining me, and have a very peaceful day.